Nice old school retro music. So welcome to episode 4 of Lakeshore Fab Lab Tech Talk. My name's Chris Kaminsky, and normally I'd be in our community makerspace making stuff with you, but things have changed. So here we are trying to, okay, that's weird. Anyway, here we are trying to make the best of things and do some online content. So the Lakeshore Fab Lab is a community space open to pretty much just anybody that wants to come make stuff. Maybe you have an idea for an invention. Maybe you have an idea for a small business. You know, you need some 3D printing. You need some laser cutting. Maybe you just need some banners and stickers, right? We're a community space where anybody can come learn how to do that stuff and make it and support yourself and not have to buy really expensive equipment. So especially in today's world with this craziness and all the strife that all these small businesses are going to have to go through, we hope to hopefully soon be a resource for everybody else once again. So today we're going to talk about one of my favorite things in the world, coffee, especially cold brew because it's warm outside. So Soldadera coffee with Gabriela and Mario here, ladies first, sorry, Rodriguez, and brother and sister duo that kind of started this company. And I've pretty much been there since the get-go. Like I remember when this thing was, you guys were first talking about doing this stuff. So I've seen it grow quite a bit. If you guys want to give a quick introduction, each one of yourselves, and then you guys can give the brief history and about Soldadera and what sparked this awesome idea.
Yeah, so I'll go first. So my name is Gabriela, and I am the co-founder of Soldadera Coffee. A little bit about me. I also work in the tech world. So I went to Grand Valley and I studied information systems there.
Go Lakers.
And right now I work at a company, Meyer, as a contractor, as a software development tester. So that's a little bit about me. And I enjoy my little side business, which is Soldadera Coffee, because we all love coffee. And then I'll pass it on to Mario.
Sure.
All right. So my name is Mario Rodriguez. I am one of the co-founders of Soldadera Coffee as well. We started this endeavor back in 2017, I think.
17? Yeah.
Yes. I know Chris from Grand Valley State University. We both went to GVSU. My background and his background is mechanical engineering. So I worked in industry, especially automotive, as Chris, and we went to work for the dark side for a bit. and then while doing that, one of my biggest hobbies was coffee, and our biggest impact in our family was our grandmother, and we started Soldadera Coffee on her memory. And from there, it has grown. I mean, we've been working. It started as a side hustle, and now, fast forward to now, it's a full-time gig for me, and especially during this pandemic, with all the layoffs that have occurred, as well as that have occurred for me, because I was affected by it. But it's a great opportunity to grow our company. And Gabby will tell you about the history of the company,
no, definitely.
And what it means.
Sure.
Soldadera, which translates to female soldier.
Yep. So yeah, let me give you guys a little background about Soldadera Coffee. So Soldadera Coffee, like Mario says, translates to female soldiers. These female soldiers are a representation of the past of 1910 during the Mexican Revolution. And these women, they created this coffee called Café de Olla, which is our original and number one. Yes, thank you for showing Mario. Our original coffee, which is actually a mix of spices as well as sweet. And this beverage was used for the men. They drink it hot. So they had big clay pots, pour all the spices, the coffee, and they used it for the man during the war. Like it was like an energy drink because
Sure.
Back then there was no such thing as that. But yeah, fast forward, and it's really popular in all over Mexico. So if you go to Mexico and ask, can I have café de olla? They'll definitely give you the café de olla. So yeah, it's a representation of this woman back in the day that made this delicious coffee. So fast forward to now, as like our business, Soldadera Coffee, which represents women, we wanted to take that as well. That women during this time are also, need to be heard, and also women, a minority like myself, and what's going on with the community as well. Overall. But yeah, it's just a representation of how something so simple can be great as well for our coffee, as the difference between how we made it into our version of a cold brew, something that is actually, a big, market right now, especially during the hot times.
Sure.
But yeah,
sure.
it's a delicious flavor. We do have other two flavors that we did create, which was the canelita, which is like a cinnamon with a little bit of sugar and the spices. Yep, Mario can you show us. Yeah, there you go.
On your website, right?
Yep, that
These
one,
two?
the one on your right. And then the next one is the amargo, which is the bitter one for our coffee lovers that just love their coffee plain. So we try to market to everybody out there that loves coffee. But yeah, that's a little bit about our background and what we are and who we represent. And
In the social aspect of it,
yeah.
I think something that our mission, like Gabby said, is bringing awareness to minority women inequality. You know, the biggest, besides the background of the coffee, our biggest inspiration, like I said, was my grandmother, and she, was one of those women who actually helped out within her community, and that's where I got the memory from. The way that the company was started was in a restaurant in Mexico during a business trip, where they sent me to a plant in the middle of nowhere in Mexico. It was actually a desert place called Saltillo, and you get free food as a engineer. As you can eat out. And I ordered a coffee, and when I had the sip of coffee, it was kind of like that ratatouille moment, that like flashback memory thing. Like it literally happened there. I was like, wow, I can't believe I forgot about the flavor, forgot how it tastes like. And kind of like it literally just started the domino effect where well, you know what? Let me do something with this, especially because I love coffee. And then, it goes from working in your kitchen, having your daughter help you out, make a bunch of different recipes, bunch in your brew kit with your brew kit. Because I had a brew kit for beer, but I took all the bottles and did a bunch of tests trying to figure out, what was the right recipe. It took me like 70 different recipes just to come up with the correct brew. Because I always say you want to have that taste of Mexico in the bottle, and that's what I was looking for when we created the first recipe.
Yeah.
And then it just slowly, keep getting bigger and bigger than we thought it was going to be. And yeah, I mean, Chris, you were there. I mean,
right.
You started seeing us. Like, I think the first time we won a competition, it was kind of like really random. I think it was Chris. It was you, I believe, who messaged me saying that they were doing a pop-up pitch competition.
Yeah, I was going to ask if that was like the first time, because I thought that would have been close.
It actually was thanks to you. We just dominoed effect, because I remember Chris sent me a message, and we were like, you know what, let's do it. Like, we don't have nothing prepared. Let's just go out there and see what happens. We got some coffee at home. Why not?
Sure.
I remember I took it in one of these like glass bottles, and then we went there. Me and Gabby pitched. We bribed the officials with coffee, and
there you go.
And and then that's how it started. It was crazy.
Yeah. I think it was the link up or something. They're like a urban development group, kind of like Start Garden down in the southeast side. And yeah, they did like their street party, and yeah, that's funny that was the first time, because like I remember going there and like I was pitching the MI3 stuff, 3D stuff I was doing back then, and I just remember it was really loud, and I'm like, I don't know how they can even hear me because it was just like in a street party. And it was really warm too that day, so I could have used some
Yeah.
cold brew.
See? That's what it was. See?
Yeah, it was
Uh,
like it was like $599 because I remember it was like $1 less than what you had to pay taxes on.
Yeah.
yes. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah, sweet, that's awesome.
So yeah, that's our story. Right now, what we're doing is we're also in many stores through the Spartan Nash brand. So a lot of people can find our products through in DNW's, Family Fair, in Holland, Grand Haven, and Grand Rapids, Forest Hills, Ada Market, yeah, DNW, yep. And
The
then
Bridge Street Market
and Bridge
downtown here
Street
too.
Market as well, and downtown market as well. You can find us there. And we're, like I said, we're working on. We have our 3 flavors. We're working on a bigger pouch so people can actually, who don't want to keep buying glass, they can buy like a big pouch, keep it in the fridge.
Sure.
But yeah, that's us.
That looks like something I would take camping.
right.
Put it in the cooler, man. Just
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
cold brew coffee to go. No, that's yeah, it's crazy because I remember messaging you one day randomly a couple years back too, when I was going through like one of the aisles at Meyer, and it was like the cold brew like section. It was like very very few things, but it was like Starbucks and a couple big names or whatever. And I sent you a picture, and it was like one day Soldadera right here, and I guess that day's what, like this year.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. So when you were talking about the Mexican version of it, it's warm, right? So
Yeah.
when you change coffee to like maybe that, you know, a little bit about, speak to the chemistry of it, like how do you, you know, like there's definitely a difference between cold coffee and warm coffee, right? It's like the, what is it, tannins or something like that that affects the shade, the flavor. Do you have anything to speak to that? Like how do you maintain that the consistency of the flavor? Is it difficult?
Well, yeah. Well, there's 2 things. It's funny because it all started a little bit with understanding how you brew beer,
Sure.
which was interesting. I bought a book for that, and I started reading about it, understanding kind of like the chemistry. You know how with beer, people usually they use different types of water where you're from. Some are the more rich, more hard water, rich in minerals, than other ones. So when we started making this coffee, one of the things that I had in mind is like, well, the water's going to be a little bit rougher, the water in Mexico is more hard than the water here. That was one factor. Second factor is, like I said, the coffee. Cold brew is, as if you do not know, it's old steeped like tea. So you put it in the grounds in cold water, and you steep them between 10 to 16 hours. And then there's an extraction that occurs during those hours where you're extracting the caffeine from the coffee at a slower rate, but because it's sitting for such a long time, you get more caffeine coming out of your coffee compared to the few seconds that you pour hot water on your regular pork. You pour in coffee, you pour it in there. The hot water touches the coffee bean, and then it extracts whatever it can and it just falls out. It doesn't sit there. So the great thing about that is when you're doing cold brew, your coffee bean, usually when you get a coffee bean, it has I believe acids in there. I got some coffee beans here. And when you grind them, well, during the toasting process, you release a bunch of gases on them, but not all of them are released. So when you put them in the cold water, you don't get all those gases coming out, which in acids that go into the water. Now, when you pour hot water into your coffee beans, you kind of take out those acidic molecules, which when you leave your coffee out, after a while it gets cold, it just tastes bitter.
Yeah.
So those I forget the name of the exact molecules that cause that, but you don't get that extraction, or you get a little bit of it. something key, and what I've seen from my research is that they use a medium to a dark roast profiles. We use a medium roast, uh, depending on the how intense you want your cold brew to be. For us, um, we we wanted to have a chocolate, like a nutty and earthy profile. So we did a lot of researching, and with our help with friends during the community, we kind of tried out different coffees to see what fit what we wanted. So for our our original flavor and our cinnamon flavor, we use a watermelon Mexican coffee. So it's kind of like our blend, which gives us a chocolatey and nutty profile. But for our dark black coffee, surprisingly, we couldn't use the same coffee because it just wasn't as satisfying. It was a little bit too acidic because it's by itself, and we use a Honduras coffee bean that's a medium to dark roast on that. So it's a little bit of researching that we had to do, and putting our engineering hats on, kind of we found the right profile, and we can always make it better. And you'll be surprised as with beer and wine, the more you try coffee, the more you start noticing those profiles of coffees. Like sometimes, in the beginning, I would hear, "Oh yeah, this coffee has a Mandarin profile with roses," and I'm like, "What? Like, the crazy? It just tastes like coffee."
Right.
But surprisingly, as your palate adjusts and becomes more refined, you start noticing that. Now, I will say, because, and as Chris knows, when we went to Grand Valley, there's a company, and I won't name them, but they supplied coffee to the engineering building, and it was not the best coffee at all. It was a type of coffee you add a lot of sugar and a lot of creamer,
Right.
uh, which is clearly was not good for us. And I was like, this is the best that we have, and that was
Right.
a refined palate back then. So we came a long way to Soldadera coffee from that type of coffee.
Sure. I've often heard that too from people, that when you, like my wife, her uncle, he works for Founders Brewing, and I'll be drinking beer, and I'm just like, this tastes like he'll give me a fancy beer or something, not released, and I'll drink it like, this is good, and he'll be like talking about the notes and the flavors, the aromas, and I'm just like, dude, it's just beer. But like, he has to sit there, they have to fine tune the beer they're brewing to a point to where it's consistent and stuff, so that his palate is refined or whatever. I'm just like, dude, it's just beer.
It takes a while, I think. I mean, and even with beer too. I have become a little bit of a snob when I drink. Like, oh, it needs to be from my microbrewery, local. No more Corona, sadly. Ask my sisters when she says, "Oh, what do you want to drink?" And I'm like, just give me something that's from Michigan or from a brewery. So I don't know, just maybe that's just me. I became kind of like a snob.
Sure.
Coffee to beer, I don't know.
Now I'll ask Gabrielle,
Yeah.
both of you, but I'll let you answer first, since Mario, you like to talk.
Yeah, he does.
Anyways, so you're talking about like the brewing, like you guys went through like 70 different batches and stuff like that. I'm just picturing like you guys just amped up, running around the house like, like how does taste testing go for like coffee, right? Like I have to imagine it's like beer. You drink 70 samples of beer, guess what? You're gonna be pretty messed up. So
I think we reached a point where we were just like, okay, let's just, try it and then spit it out.
sure.
Just because it was to the point where we were like, okay, we had over way too many samples. But at the beginning, Mario he did the first like 70 samples, and then I think he condensed it. Was it like 20 or something, or 50 or something like that? And then out of all of those, we had to go back and be like, okay, what does this one taste like? Does this one taste good? And then we would just like, after a while, we kind of we were like, okay, we're not gonna drink this coffee because it's just too much.
Sure.
So we would just spit it out.
like swirling it in a glass, like a wine
Yeah,
glass, right?
like,
Like
like the
super
wine.
fancy.
It's like a, smell it, and then just
Right.
like, oh. But yeah, that's how we did it.
Now,
It was, we even had our little brother involved as well. Like, oh, come here.
sure. Yeah, I'd be bringing my nephew and niece over. Like, here you go, try this coffee up. Now go back home.
Yeah.
Man, you had like a full engineering office though. You could have like tapped into that for like some market research, but I guess they're pretty set on their like Folgers, I'm sure. So
Right.
Yeah.
Well, where I was at, they didn't really like. They don't provide coffee for you. You kind of
Sure.
have to like buy yourself, which is fine. Sometimes I use them for my own personal research. I'll bring some coffee. Like, hey, what do you guys think of this? And I had some people try it out. But like Gabby says, we narrowed it down to I think like 12 different profiles. And one of my biggest issues is that I'm not very good at deciding on what is the best one. Like you want to like which one is the best of the best of the best.
I feel like it would be hard.
Oh, it's just right. So it was kind of like my sister and my dad, who's part of the company, and my fiance, who's also part of the company. Kind of like, yeah, I just pick one. But I'm like, but which one is the best? We did blind samples where they did only I knew, and they didn't know what it was, and we'll try it out. We had people try it.
Like 4 at the end that we were just kind of like, out of these 4, they're kind of similar, but which one's the best?
Right, and you're like, sometimes you're like, it just tastes the same. You get to the point where like I can't tell the difference.
Right.
So
we're just gonna pick one and roll with it.
Right, but surprisingly, the way that the final decision was made was also an economical decision. So we kind of had to take off our tasting hats and put their business hats on and say, well, based on economics, which one makes sense and to move forward. So you got to think of the cost of good and whatnot.
Sure. Makes me my next question, I guess, for you would be, so you think of brewing coffee, right? Like, people can have French presses and be brewing stuff at home. Obviously, when you get to a scale where you're actually like distributing, and even before you were distributing in like stores, did you have to buy like some big industrial equipment to brew that much? Because you were selling it just via website and probably at like shows and stuff, right? Before you guys got into stores.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we did is I kind of took I looked at because the way that we do it is it's a 2-part process, not only just the cold brew, but the other side of which is kind of like the flavors.
Yeah.
And we have to that's the one part that we do heat up. So we took kind of like we bought stainless steel pots from brewing company, where you do brewing, like
Sure.
large. I think it's like a 50-gallon one.
Whew.
And then we also bought huge containers. Oh, sorry. My Alexa just turned on for some reason.
Oh.
It's listening.
She's interested in coffee.
Right. So, yeah, we bought like 8 huge drums of those plastic food-grade containers to hold, or the liquid, the cold brew. So yeah, it was interesting. We started buying like huge equipment just so we can start, so we can hold all the product in there. So that was actually pretty cool. We did buy a semi-automatic like filling machine as well. So that's kind of cool.
I think my favorite part was the grinder, because we did start off with just regular coffee at home grinders, and I think we had like, I don't know, it was an event, and we had to make about, I think it was probably like a couple gallons of coffee, and we had these small little ones, and I would sit there for 5 minutes trying to grind, but when we finally were able to purchase like the big one, which would just take a minute, grind the 3 pounds of coffee, 6 pounds, instead of waiting for like 10-15 minutes to just wait for the coffee to grind, because then they would heat up. I think that was the most, when we first started, that was really hard, but then we were able to get a bigger equipment and machinery. So that was pretty cool, but yeah.
Yeah,
You gotta
we
start out
actually
small
broke
and then
it.
big.
I threw it away the other day because it wasn't even like we burned the motor. It's just like,
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking like the little ones from Walmart. And I know it would take Gabby in 10 to 30 minutes just to grind 3 pounds. So
Wow.
Yeah.
Just got to get like a wood chipper.
right.
So what's been the what's been the most rewarding and what's been the most difficult thing for each of you guys? Now I know Mario, you're kind of like, from when I've known you since college, you're kind of like, you've been a serial entrepreneur, I'd call you. You're always throwing yourself out there trying to figure out, what the next big thing is. And Gabby, you probably didn't. Did you have that before all this, or was this all new to you?
Well, actually, funny story. Mario and I go back to doing side businesses when we were in high school. We used to have he said he would take me because I was cute and small and people would buy this wooden pen.
Just to sell.
Again, women ruling the planet.
We actually did have I didn't imagine it would, like get to the point that we are, but I did have a little experience with him back then. We had he had the idea to make wooden pens, like crafted ones, and we did sell like I think like a couple of them to some people that were in, I think it was like a Hispanic market, and they had their own business, and we would come up to them and say, hey, we have these pens, would you like to, we handcraft them and sell our idea. So yeah, I think I didn't really expect from my personal experience, I had a background of it, like Mario and I, we worked on things like this since we were young, but to go to the point where we would be in competitions, actually win, like the 100 ideas. I think that was the big one that we were I was surprised when we won, just because I didn't expect it, but I didn't know how much it would grow and people would love the coffee. So yeah, it's been a wild experience, but it's been interesting. And I think like Mario says, just moving forward, trying to improve ourselves. But I know he has more of the, entrepreneur type of mind, so he's always moving forward. I'm there to learn and help, and we're kind of a tag team, like we tag each other, like, okay, your turn, and things like that. So
Sure.
I think that's why we work well sometimes, because he is my brother, so
Sure.
you can't be all roses with him. But yeah.
Nice. I guess for me, it's a tough one. I guess I always been a little bit kind of like the whole the whole background story that a lot of entrepreneurs have. They did the lemonade stand. I did that. Make fake products at high school. Kind of like I took a business class in high school, and I was always including my sister in my promo videos, and even hurting my little brother. There was one time I made the anti-bully vest, a vest that protects you from bullies, and
Sure.
I was bullying my brother in camera just to show it worked. Like little things like that. I think also I was also part of, and this is something that I got surprisingly good at through wrestling. As I used to do wrestling in high school. We would have to go door to door and sell Burger King coupons for to raise money for your gear, your hoodie, your sweatshirt, blah blah, and kind of like it would put you in front of people's houses and just like, hey, you want to buy this pack of $20 coupons for Burger King, and kind of like it will force you to, you're in high school or sophomore,
Right. It's an awkward time.
Oh, super awkward talking to people. And I always been one of those people that, like, you got to do it. If you feel uncomfortable, that's a good thing, so.
You grow in those uncomfortable times.
Yeah, it's just, I just embrace it, awkwardness is part of you. It should feel you,
Sure.
So that's how it started. And in college, when I always knew I wanted to be an engineer. An aerospace engineer, actually.
Hey, me too, bud.
Oh, look at that. That's hilarious. So since middle school, I took this like test, and I was like, oh, it has to be engineering. And then like, oh, it's aerospace. So then I always kind of like, I was minded, like, I'm going to go for engineering. I want to know what an engineer does. And I was during college, it's just, I mean, I started to learn, but I was like, damn, this is hard. This is not as easy as I thought it was going to be. And I kept at it, but then I always saw opportunities like, oh, what if we design this? Or what if we do this? And then it just throw ourselves out there. I would be doing competitions. We wouldn't win. But we just do the best that we could. You know, it was even before it was cool to be an entrepreneur or
Sure. Now it's like a thing.
Yeah, we were just going at it. And I'm gonna be honest, a lot of our the school was not set up for entrepreneurship, I feel.
No.
It looked down on business individuals or people who were like trying stuff.
Well, the business school took care of that. All the people who couldn't be engineers went to the business school.
Right.
Sorry for any business school people, but I mean, I debated it like many semesters. I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Well, or even the degrees. I mean, I was between mechanical engineering and it's called product design manufacturing engineering.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm like, oh, they're doing the cool stuff. They're doing the projects, and then the projects can lead to like a business. But you know, at the end, I'm like, you know, I gotta learn all the basics that engineers does. And yeah, I keep trying. You know, you try, you fail, you keep trying, you fail. We did. I did a company with my best friend, a ultrasonic cleaner. We tried doing that through, you know, like we did the whole almost Kickstarter type of thing, online selling. So honestly, I just kept trying. And when things didn't go our way or we failed, we learned from those mistakes. And something that was actually kind of cool at the same time is that I was in industry, working at Chrysler, and I was a product design manufacturer. Product release engineer.
Yeah.
So what I do is I design, release, kind of help source, deal with the costing, implement the design, and launch the design, and then do it all over again. You know, if you're saving costs for, you know, 20 cents, that's like a huge thing, you know, because that turns into millions of dollars.
Right.
So I did that for the Jeep brands, the Wranglers, Ram. And then through that, I have to say that I learned a lot, dealing with suppliers, dealing with sourcing, you know, designs. And I think that personally, I think it helped me a lot to move forward in my entrepreneurship side, and with Soldadera as well. I mean, or labels, shout out to Whitlam. It's a company in Warren, Michigan. They, you know, Gabby met with them, and I went to their facility that's near the Warren truck assembly plant where they make the Rams. You know, and awesome company. You know, they work with automotive companies, and you know, I was able to get a good deal with them, and kind of like implementing a little bit of the automotive design, and even the way we do our pricing, or just the way I set up the Excel sheets, and I'm like, well, what should I be looking at? You know, maybe we need to source a new company for, or you know, or bottling or containers. So it's been a great experience. I mean, I've been kind of all over the place, but learn a lot. I think Soldadera's going to keep moving forward. I mean, I'm hoping to launch a bigger scale manufacturing facility, an actual tap room in the near future.
Really?
Yeah, so that's what I'm working on right now. First, I got to finish up our e-commerce site that I'm finishing up, and then doing a bigger expansion, and just you know, go as fast and as far as we can with Soldadera. And new products. You know, I definitely need to get into the tech world with Soldadera as well. And there's a lot of opportunity, I think. And bring in new individuals. I think there's a lot of people who will be interested to work with us, and help us grow the brand as well.
I feel like there's one thing that holds strong in any kind of economy, and it's beer and coffee. Because guess what? I still drink coffee every morning, even though I'm not at the Fab Lab or whatever. Like, I'm still going to drink coffee. Like, it's not going to change.
Right. No, it's
But
coffee, beer, wine. We're not. There's not a lot of wine-ish. I mean, there's some wine people, but yeah, coffee.
come back to the beer thing in a second. I'm interested in Gabrielle. You, it sounds like you do more like IT technology stuff with Meyer. So
Yeah.
are you the website guru, database guru?
At the moment, I am not. I
No?
actually no. Since like I said, I still work. A lot of it has been falling on Mario. A lot of the work he's been working on. I think for me, like, it's just getting the basics down. I kind of help him design like the UI and UX part. But not as much as like I would like to, just because I still work. And
Sure.
when he comes, usually he'll be working on it. But a lot of it, like I said, he has been working on it. Just because he has more time now.
Right.
But
There's a reason because of that.
Right.
no, but yeah, definitely. Like I said, Mario's, he's working over there, and I'll help out occasionally.
Now
Yeah.
we can go back to this. That's good. It's good. You guys don't fight, right? Brothers and sisters, you guys get along all the time, I'm sure.
Oh, like I said, not all roses, but we do make a good tag team. Like,
Sure.
well, Mario's like, oh, did we get this done? Have we? Like, we have to separate sometimes how we interact. But it's a good, a good balance. Like, if I have to work on, like right now, getting swag, a lot of the, there's mass people that are, a lot of companies are starting to sell mass, more t-shirts, because we have our t-shirts.
Oh yeah.
And then, hats and mugs. So a lot of that just has been falling on my plate. I know Mario's been working more of like the e-commerce, the website. But yeah, that's our job is just like sometimes tag, I'll be here working on this and tag. Since it's usually like I said, sometimes the workload, he'll be like, oh, can you look at this or take a look, second opinion. But usually we tend to we balance it out.
Right, because it seems like it'd be pretty difficult because you're talking about merchandise, you guys are talking about marketing, you're talking about looking to the future, you're talking about like quality control. Like what happens if there's a manufacturing issue and all of a sudden your coffee just tastes like crap, right? So your customer service, your social media, like it's crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of hats, a lot of accounting that comes, financing.
That's another one that I didn't even mention. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something that they don't teach enough is the accounting and all that stuff. That honestly, I'm glad that I had a breakdown of, how much per ounce or product costs. And then, because if not, I feel like a lot of businesses are just don't know where to start. I didn't know where to start, and then just like, all right, just gotta dig in and figure it out somehow, I guess.
I feel like we are, as a nation, very bad about teaching like practical math. Like, here you can do this derivative or this like integral, right? But those can be helpful. But like sometimes you just have to like, think of a business math or even think of like a budget, right? Like I never learned how to do a budget in high school. Like I had to figure that out after $100,000 in student loans.
Right. No, and that is so true. Like you just gotta Google it, and I'm like, well, is this the best way? And it's funny because I have a book, an accounting book from that, because Gabby took accounting, and I'm like looking through it. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's like ways to set it up. Like I've been doing like my own Excels through like what I would do in engineering, but apparently that's not how you do it. I'm like, so like little things like that, you start learning. You have to take off your engineering hat off, and you got to put the business hat on. And even like Gabby says, when we do go and make a sale, sometimes I go in there with my engineering hat on the whole time, And yeah, as you can see, I talk a lot, and I can go into the minor details like, well, the manufacturing method, blah blah blah, and then Gab is like, they didn't ask you that question in her mind. It's like they were asking you something else, and you just went off.
They asked what your name was, dude.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Right. And I tell Gabby, it's like, all right, next time you gotta interrupt me because I thought that's all they were asking me. So like little things like that. Things that I'm not used to talking about. She could talk about. Like there was one question one time, and I'll say it. I didn't want to bring the example, but they asked us, well, during a sales pitch was like, well, and they asked me and Gabby, it's like, so what? They asked, what do we get out of? What was the question, Gabby? What do I get out of you, or something like that? Like, I can't remember what it was.
Like, was it the one like, what are you bringing to the community or something?
No. They were like, what do we get out from you? Like, what? Like that. The question was, what were they getting from us?
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, it's like, well, like in my mind, it's like, well, they're getting coffee, and they gave a good deal. So it's like, what else do they want? So like,
Right.
I was like, I had no idea. But my sister, she knew what they were asking because they were going through, they didn't have their business hat on. They had their social hat on, and I never had. Mine was just stuck in business mode.
Right. Like, I'm physically giving you this coffee. That's what
Right. And that's one of the biggest problems working in corporate America is that it's about the bottom line. But when you're working with local businesses, it's not only about that. And honestly, that has been one of my biggest issues because 4 years in Chrysler, and that's, from the way that you write emails to each other to the way you interact, is this done yet? Or, I need the costing done, 5 days ago, or to the point where people are yelling, bad words through the phone and harassing the suppliers.
Sure.
There's also a mentality that the suppliers are crap. They work for us, not for, really, there's a lot of bad culture in corporate America in terms of how how businesses, or how engineers deal with them. And I think I didn't like that, but sometimes those habits kind of stick a little bit. And I have to say, like in that example, like I had my hat on business wise the whole time, and my sister had to like pull me aside, and, like,
they weren't asking you that.
they're not asking you that. Yeah.
Does he hold like weekly meetings that are just pointless that you have to sit through, Gabby? Because is that another bad habit he got from corporate America?
I had it before, but I stopped.
I sat through some of those meetings. Like, I'm thankful for my time at, GM, but like, I'm just like, oh my gosh, what is going on? And it's crazy because you think about it, and all these big companies like GM and Chrysler, you watch like the History Channel stuff about them. They all started out just mom and pop, like Soldadera coffee, right? Like, so small, but then like as things grow, they get so big that everything has to have a special place and a special, like the gear has to be this size and this dimension, right? Like, and you were that gear for, what you did. And don't try to be a different size gear and think outside the box because you got to do this job. And it's hard. We run into that all the time.
Yeah, no. That's what it was. And then after the pandemic occurred, as I was a contract engineer, I was laid off. The first.
Most of them are contract. I was contracted GM. Like, that's how they do things now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's very interesting how they do that now because I want to say half of my department, which was I worked in the cooling department, it was contract, and a lot of young engineers were laid off. And there was also competition within the department on, well, how do you become direct? And it just the management was always kind of like, yeah, well, we're gonna make people direct, but kind of like fake promises that were never there. but just kind of giving hope to a lot of engineers.
There was a
And-
lady when I was at GM. She was there 20 years before I got there. And like during my like 2 years there, she finally got hired in. I was like, it's just, I don't know, man. It's sick kind of.
we had I remember we had a huge department meeting, which was all the engine systems. And, there's a lot of also engineers from other countries working on visas. And we kind of a lot of the younger engineers were more blunt. And we're like, all right, so what are we, like the head department, like, what are you going to do about, contract engineers? And I mean, their always response was political, but this individual actually, she actually gave us a straight out answer. It's like, we always have, a huge percentage of contract engineers because of risks and liabilities of the market. So pretty much saying that you guys are, whenever we want to let you guys go, you guys can go. So, I mean, and I get it. I mean, at least they're honest about it. But that's how they play the game.
It's just it's something modern we just have to deal with. Google does it. They all do it.
Yep.
So we talked about beer. We talked about coffee. Let's bring this back to Soldadera. So two of my favorite things, beer and coffee. And you guys had the pleasure of bringing those two together, did you not, from what I see?
Yeah.
From what I've seen?
Oh my gosh. You're doing your homework. You're awesome.
It's my first rodeo. So this was done with City Belt, right?
Yep.
That's in Grand Rapids, Michigan. For anybody here, a lot of people have watched this from all over. So Muskegon, whatever. It's a brewery in Grand Rapids. Did you have ties? Like, how do you get a beer with how do you get a brewery that wants to like take your coffee and use it?
Well, it was a connection. We have been also thinking of doing other collaborations. But it was a collaboration during, I think this was March. It was March, so it was Women's Month, and we kind of wanted to do tie our brand as well with the coffee. So it was just kind of a collaboration between knowing Edwin, I think his name
Edwin.
is. Yep. From City Built, who we knew someone else, Raul, and they connected us.
Raul knows everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I think that was our first collaboration, and I think it was a year ago that we did that.
Yeah, it shows March 9, so 2019. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, so that was actually very interesting because, as we all know, Grand Rapids is beer city, as the billboards say, apparently. And so it was kind of like the best of the best, two worlds, coffee and beer. And it was a little bit tough coming up with a recipe for that because the big issue is carbonation. Now, because of coffee, has sugar, sugarcane sugar, we had to kind of figure out a way to introduce the flavors without causing a new
fermentation
during the bottling process.
Oh yeah.
So that was actually interesting. A little bit of work we did, and also to make sure we bring down the cost for them too. But it was great, honestly. Like it was a great. I love stout, so it ended up being a stout, which is like delicious. And it was still kind of cold, so it was like great when it came out.
I'm sad I never got to go. It's one of those things I just kept saying, I'm gonna get down there. I'm gonna get down there. I never got to go down and give it a go.
You know what? I'll work so next year we can do another collaboration and do something awesome with them. Definitely they're a great small business company, city built. They have great food as well, Cuban style. Food. It's great. I love their beers.
Well, I haven't had dinner yet. You're just talking about food and
dude.
beer.
Well, you're lucky because I'm eating Soylent over here. Powder food. I haven't gone shopping, so. But awesome collaboration. To be honest, and I think a lot of our local companies That's the thing that we should always be doing, is collaborating with others. We have done some with other. I think it's called Elephant Pack. She does, I believe. Gabby, tell us what I forgot. What do they do?
She sells packages to different, she usually focuses more like a gift bag. So she does a lot of collaborations with different companies around Grand Rapids, where she takes in the local products, locally made, and she sells it as a gift for other people. It could be like a gift for Mother's Day, or someone in a company that you know that it's their birthday or something. It's just a package that she wants to represent what represents Grand Rapids. I know she also has another partner down in Texas, and they do locally. So she thought, like, why not? What represents Grand Rapids? What is Grand Rapids? And who is making all these local products? So it's just a great way to show what Grand Rapids makes. And she collaborates with other businesses that make. I think there was one that makes little packages for coasters. That's what it was. I was like, coasters. I know they're just if you look at her website, she's done a good job at, and we worked with her, collaborating, giving people coffee for them as well. So yeah, it's another collaboration we've done with another company.
One that we wanted to do, but we haven't gotten around, was ice cream. So we started our talks last year with Love's Ice Cream. They're in the downtown market. We haven't followed up with doing an ice cream with them. I mean, we already know what we need, but it's just we've been so busy that every time we do a collaboration, it's just like a mini side quest.
Sure.
On the main quest, and it's always like, well, should we do it or should we not do it? So
yeah.
You're like, I got to work on the business, but also ice cream's delicious.
Right.
My wife and me volunteer to be taste testers if that happens.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions? I put it in the chat, but I didn't know if there's a couple people in here that maybe had questions about this stuff. I mean, I feel like all I've had is questions, because it's just been like, I've learned so much about you guys. Even though I've followed you for the past 3 years, I still feel like I learned a lot.
Yeah.
So we talked, obviously beer is very close to my heart because I keep mentioning it, and there's a cold one in the fridge. They have beer fests, right? Do they have like coffee fests like that? Is that a thing?
There are coffee competitions, but I don't know if there's for cold brew. I mean, a lot of these we're talking baristas are competing to provide you the best coffee drink, and they do creative and crazy things with their drinks, but not that I know of, like the beer fest. Now,
Sure.
one of the great things about our coffee, though, is you can pair it with liquor.
I forgot about that.
So if you're a whiskey fan or tequila fan, you can usually just pour it, mix it, and you have a really good drink, a good cocktail, to be honest. We did a tryout in Star Garden during one of their events. I believe
Christmas.
It was a Christmas event.
Star Garden.
Yeah, in Star Garden. Jorge Gonzalez, I believe his last name. He's the president of Star Garden, or director, I believe. And he was like, we should do something like that. And we brought the tequila in, and we had to try it out to see what was the best ratio. So that was
right.
Yeah. So
you go too far, every ratio is the best.
Yeah, it ended up being a 2-to-1 ratio on that one. I think, from what I remember, that was a tough tasting setup. But yeah, that's we'll see in the future if we want to do an actual a bottle with with liquor in there. I know there's more there are more there are more things that we need to look at for that. But yeah, that's doable.
Yeah,
sure.
I think we were gonna do that with one of the businesses downtown. The restaurant, I forgot the name of it.
Exo.
We've been super in love with the bomber blue brews. It's like coffee beer, or hard coffee, whatever. That and the PBR version, so good.
Oh, really? I've not tried that one.
They're good. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. It's been already an hour.
I know, right? I was just gonna say, like, I thought we were gonna be like, oh well, I was like, oh, maybe we can wrap up early or something like that. But man, we just been firing back and forth.
I
Love
know.
it.
Mario could talk for hours.
Oh, definitely. You tell me the topic, we can go into it.
We're gonna sign off, and he's just gonna still be there talking.
Right? It's like, well, guys. No, yeah, definitely. If you guys ever are more interested in coffee, let me know. And we're hoping to do more collaborations with other coffee companies, actually, such as Sparrows, Schuler's Coffee, Littlefoot. They're an awesome company as well. Who else was thinking about? I think those three right now. But yeah, I think Chris, thank you for letting us come and talk about coffee. Hopefully,
Yeah,
we
man.
can give you guys a pack for you guys to try it at home. For letting us be in here, and I know you guys. It's the Fab Lab Tech Talk.
Right. I just get all the goodies.
Right. But we could have talked about conversion rates on e-commerce and how we do that, or SEOs, if anybody has any questions about that, or the best e-commerce website to use for that.
Sure. That's like meat and potatoes of the business right there.
Yep. So
Sweet. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for coming on, Gabby and Mario, and thanks for those who showed up to watch this. This will be posted in a couple weeks on our YouTube channel, and you can watch it there. And if you're watching it there, hi from the past.
all right, guys.
Bye.